I'm Karina, sitting in the CEO's office of Nova Technologies. I'm looking at the framed newspaper headline on the wall that reads, Secretary to CEO, Silicon Valley's Greatest Coup. It brings back a flood of memories. Just a few hours ago, I was in that very conference room, watching as Richard, the former CEO, and his nephew Mark's world crumbled before their eyes. Richard was strutting around the room like a peacock, taking credit for my work, just as he had done so many times before. James, the CEO of Global Dynamics, a potential major client, was there listening to Richard's lies about our security system. Mark, who was appointed CTO just because he was Richard's nephew, was spouting technical jargon he clearly didn't understand. I sat quietly in the corner, as I always did, taking notes like a good secretary. But beneath the surface, my tablet was running a program that monitored every false claim Richard made. Suddenly, James asked to see the test results from the quantum resistance trials. My heart skipped a beat. I knew Mark's so-called system couldn't handle quantum computing threats, but mine could. As I pulled up the files, Mark's face paled. Then, James turned to me and said, MS. Karina, I believe you're being rather modest about your role here. The room fell silent. Richard looked at me in confusion, and Mark's smug smile disappeared. James pulled out his tablet and revealed that I held 3 patents fundamental to the technology Richard was trying to sell. 3 years of careful planning had finally come to this moment. I straightened my back, letting go of the meek mask I'd worn for so long. Richard stammered, trying to deny the truth. But just then, my tablet chimed with an incoming email. I calmly announced that the SEC had received documentation about Nova's business practices. The next 15 minutes were a whirlwind. James methodically dismantled Richard's empire. Mark tried to claim I'd stolen the technology, but I pulled out a USB drive with video evidence of his own incompetence. As the board and the SEC got involved, it became clear that Richard and Mark's time at Nova was over. The board members arrived for an emergency session, and the SEC investigators swarmed the offices. Looking back, it all started when I joined Nova fresh from Stanford. I had a double doctorate in computer science and quantum physics, but Richard, with his outdated and sexist views, thought I was too young and female to be a tech genius. He offered me a job as an executive assistant, and most women would have walked away. But I saw an opportunity. In a company obsessed with appearances, no one suspected the quiet secretary in the corner. I wore plain clothes, spoke softly, and did my administrative tasks during the day. At night, I worked on developing the next generation cyber security technology right under their noses. The men at Nova were so careless, leaving their computers unlocked. They never questioned when I installed monitoring software or accessed their files. I patented my innovations under a separate company I'd founded, Quantum Protector Industries. As the chaos in the office unfolded, James approached me. He offered a direct partnership between Global Dynamics and my company. The board also wanted me to take over as CEO to prevent the company's complete collapse. I agreed, but only on the condition that there would be a complete restructuring of the hierarchy, a review of all patents to credit the real inventors, and profit sharing with the development teams. 6 months later, I stood at a podium announcing Nova's merger with Global Dynamics. The company had doubled in value under my leadership, and more importantly, it had become a place where innovation was truly rewarded. James asked me if I had any regrets about spending 3 years pretending to be less than I was. I thought about the lessons learned and the satisfaction of finally showing my true power. I said firmly, no regrets. Sometimes, the greatest power lies in being underestimated. I kept that simple gray blazer in my closet as a reminder of the power that comes from being overlooked. And from now on, no one would ever underestimate a mere secretary again.